Good morning, everybody. Sorry about the volume issues on this one. I'm Matt Powell, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Chamber. I just want to thank everybody for being here this morning. The committee's worked really hard at putting this event together for everybody. We want to make sure that you have a good show. You'll learn something. We've got 3 great presentations on sustainability topics today, so you'll hear from 3 great experts on this. Also, in the name of an effort for more sustainable practices with the Chamber, you'll notice there's a card on your table. The card you can scan with your phone and it'll go right to our digital event program. So typically we print programs, not the best thing for the environment, but we're trying something new. So before we get started, I wanted to recognize a couple of special guests that are in the audience this morning. So first, from Northampton County Council member Tara Zrinski, thank you for being here. And then a couple of Chamber Executive Committee board members, Paul Anthony, Lori Hackett, and Murtaza. Murtaza, thank you so much for printing these digital event program cards. We appreciate all that you do for us. We've got 4 great awards that we're going to give out today, so I hope everybody enjoys the program. It's now my pleasure to introduce Senior Vice President of Member Relations and Operations for the Chamber, Allison Pickle.
I was going to say don't go too far with that mic, but I think I'm okay. Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for our 2023 Lehigh Valley Sustainability Summit. We're so excited to have you. And similar to all of our Chamber programs and events, we couldn't do what we do without our leadership and sponsors and support. So with that, I have the privilege of recognizing those that are with us and supporting our Chamber initiatives. Of course, our presenting sponsor, thank you so much to the Sustainability Energy Fund, Kelly and team, for your support year after year. Thank you. And to our gold sponsors, thank you to our dear friends Air Products, Lori, Pat, Katie, and Julie. Congratulations on your large business award. Thank you. Astound Business Solutions, thank you Andrew and team. Capital Blue Cross, Chrissy and team, thank you for being everywhere. And PPL Electric Utilities, I saw Jane, thank you Jane, John, and Jim. Thank you to our gold sponsors. We can keep clapping, yeah? All right, and our silver sponsors today, thank you so much to Andre Hewitt Associates and RMS Environmental, our silver sponsors, thank you. And our bronze sponsors, August Mack Environmental, Clean Earth, Coventry Environmental, Elk Environmental Services, like the woo, Integrity Recycling, Lehigh County Authority, Lehigh County Conservation District, 7 Generations Charter School. Give it up for the kids. That's where I want to be. Congratulations. It's very cool to have you here. And of course, to Synergy Environmental. Thank you all to our bronze sponsors. And today's event recording sponsor, Alloy Flying Architecture. Becca and team, thank you for your support. We have our giveaway sponsor, thank you, Lou from Electric. I think it's $1 million, he said. So thank you, Lou. He said you have to find it somewhere in the room, so I'm sure it's very cool. Our print sponsor, again, thank you, Murtaza, our EBC Printing and Signs, who again is everywhere and a good friend of the Chamber. Program supporters, Carroll Engineering Corporation, NTech Engineering, Miller Knoll, Ott Consulting, UGI Energy Services, and WFMZ Weather. Thank you to our program supporters. I also want to thank Christine and her team here at the club at Twin Lakes, who has been our host of Snowball a few months ago and has just again been a great Chamber partner and host, and the space is absolutely beautiful. We just checked out the Brado Suite downstairs. So thank you, Christine and her team, for a beautiful venue. And now, let's go. One more clap and we're good. Thank you. And now join me in welcoming the Vice President of Programs for the Sustainable Energy Fund, Kelly Sanders.
Hi, thank you for meeting on this lovely Friday morning. We are excited to sponsor and get this group of people together once again to highlight the progress of sustainability in the Lehigh Valley. Please visit our booth and learn about our financial and educational programs, including 7 Generations. We do have a middle and high school science fair coming up in June. with cash prizes, and the projects have to relate to energy efficiency, energy conservation, or renewable energy. So please feel free to spread the word anywhere in the Lehigh Valley for those science fair projects. But without further ado, now let me introduce our first presentation of the day to present on green energy infrastructure best practices. Please welcome to the stage Manager of Regulatory for Policy for PP&L Services Corporation, Jim Rowland.
Good morning. So before I begin, I wanted to first thank the Lehigh Valley, Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber and my Energy and Environment Committee members for providing me the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I'm really excited to kind of talk about some of the different activities that are happening in the energy sector, what's evolving right now, as well as a litany of different resources that all of you have available at your fingertips to really help both participate and advance the evolution that's going on in the sector. So the first thing is I'm kind of thinking about how do I really begin talking about all of this? And really where I wanted to start was just where we are for Pennsylvania and then focus on the Lehigh Valley itself. So, the first thing is just the evolution of the energy sector from where we were 20 years ago to where we're at now. I mean, if you think about it, we used to fully rely on just massive, large-scale power plants for production, and then using the transmission distribution grid that still exists today to get it to us. And then just how we also consume power is different. It's drastically different. For the first time in a very long time, consumers, end-use customers, have the opportunity to actually generate their own power. You can connect it to your home or your business and consume your power as opposed to that of the grid. And then you can really kind of project next and say, okay, what types of power are we talking about? Well, the big easy one is rooftop solar. It seems like everybody has it. I know I've seen a number of folks come and even talk to me at my house about, hey, your house looks perfect for solar. But there's a lot of other things that are going on too. It's low impact hydro, biofuels, fuel cells, combined heat and power. There are a bunch of different technologies that aren't just the traditional renewable, but are really unique in some cases to Pennsylvania and even to our area. And so when it comes to kind of interconnection, there's a lot of different opportunities for you. PPL Electric is one of 4 major utilities in the state. And we support a lot of all of you in this area in your different needs and wants. But really, it enables you to do what you want with your home and your business and to support that environmental transition. Today we rely more and more on different machines and advanced technologies to leverage electricity as a primary fuel rather than more traditional fuels. Where once you used oil, natural gas, propane and things to heat your house or your hot water or fuel your energy demands and needs for your businesses, you can now use electricity and do so cleanly. When you talk about transportation, you used to use just natural or gasoline, or you would use diesel. Now electric vehicles are starting to take stage as well as hydrogen vehicles. And energy storage is advancing. So, before, if you go back far enough, there used to be lead acid batteries or other similar technologies. Technically they worked, although not well. Now you have lithium ion batteries, and there's the prospect in the near future of solid state batteries that you could have in your home or your business that we could connect to the transmission or distribution grid and so on. So there's new evolutions going on every day. I'm reading about it in the news and different articles all the time. And these systems are now being combined with solar and wind to take power generated sometimes when we don't need it to move it to times we do. And so to put it all into perspective, let's see if this works here. Jump forward, there we go. So to put it all into perspective, let's look at some statistics and evolution for Pennsylvania and the Lehigh Valley. So if you go back to 2010, not all that far ago, we had a Pennsylvania target of about 9% renewables. And I use renewables loosely because Pennsylvania does have a mix of fuels compared to some other states. Today, that's up to 18%. And it includes traditional renewables, solar, hydro, wind, but less traditional, landfill methane gas, coal bed methane, technologies that you might not see in many other states. And that number doesn't even really include a lot of the customer-connected resources that actually support it further. And that's things like we've talked about, where you have rooftop solar, hydro, low impact or substantive impact, larger facilities, wind, landfill methane gas, and so on. And we've seen in the Lehigh Valley an even greater increase of what customer-connected resources look like. Back in 2010, we had about 1,000 units, 1,000 individual customer units attached of about 30 megawatts. Today, we're at 18,000, actually as of earlier this morning, well over 18,000, and over 300 megawatts of power connected. And so you can just see in a few short years how far we've progressed. PPL has also worked with customers large and small, and many of you in this room and likely watching later, help reduce energy consumption through various local, state, and regional initiatives. And so to give you a few statistics of things that many of you are likely to have supported, in our prior Act 129 energy efficiency program, or what we call ED&C, Energy Efficiency and Conservation, we had a demand reduction target of 92 megawatts. At the end of the program, we hit 112. So that's a 20 megawatt exceedance of the target that we were trying to shoot. It worked so well in our current plan, we're actually now progressing up to 230 megawatts, or just shy of it. When it comes to usage, our targets in the prior plan were 1.4 million megawatt hours reduced. That's not using power. We hit 1.7. These and many other results are from all of you. You participated, you acted, you saved. So with that said, one of the other things I did is I stepped back and said, okay, what would I ask if I was sitting where you are? My first question is, okay, what can I do? Like, what activities, things can I leverage to actually support this? And so to start, you have to learn how you use electricity now. So that's your first, to get a baseline. And so the first place I would direct you is initially to PPL's website. So we've done a lot on our site to actually customize it for business customers. We've made it so that it's more functional for you as business reps to really understand how you consume power and then provide you with the data necessary to act. So log into your account, look at your data. It can be monthly, it can be daily, it can be hourly. You can look at your demand and how you consume. You can see your costs. All of these help you create a baseline. Or if you want a more cultivated experience, I actually have one of my colleagues here, John Kutcher, and he manages the key account manager group as well as business account services. You can contact him and his group, and they can actually help walk you through it. They can provide you that same level of detail and information on how you use it, what power looks like, but there's additional services they can provide. They can help inform you on how net energy metering or customer-connected, interconnected resources work. They can help provide details on energy efficiency and conservation programs. And they can even support opportunities for you as businesses to electrify your services, whatever they may be, or even convert your transportation fleet to electric. And so once you have that starting framework, you can then start to look for other program opportunities. There's energy efficiency options that are available. There's a wealth of information and opportunities. This is just some of the information that you have. But really, when you get to energy efficiency, there's a whole different suite of information that you could leverage to improve your businesses. And so one of the things I want to emphasize is there's some information on the slides up here that shows some incentive values, and that's where we're at today. But on June 1st, a little over a month from now, we're actually updating and changing some of those incentives. So one of the key takeaways I'll say halfway through my discussion here is check back frequently. We're constantly updating our information on the website to provide you with more data and information, more resources for you to leverage. So in mid-May, we'll be updating these values, and you can go out and see what's new and what you could take advantage of. So the next topic is electric vehicles, and we actually have the opportunity here, following me in the next presentation is a person from PJM who's going to talk more about electric vehicles, but hopefully I won't steal any thunder there. We're all on a new journey. PPL, just like all of you, electric vehicles are new. We're really trying to understand how all of you are going to consume power and really use those vehicles as you transition. So, I feel like a broken record, but I'll say it again, check our website. We actually have an EV-specific website, and we have sub-sites there specifically for businesses. So if you're looking to convert your fleet, we have information on that. If you're looking for information on incentive structures, not necessarily PPLs, linking to state and federal sites, local and regional initiatives, that's on our site as well. Though I do have actually one ask for all of you. Because this journey is new, one of the things we're trying to better understand is how you need us to help you. And so my first ask is help us help you by providing us some data and information. So if you're considering transitioning your fleet, or you've already transitioned, let us know. Contact us. We don't have necessarily the access to the information behind meters. So just getting a little bit of information that, hey, yes, I've actually transitioned my fleet, or I moved from all of traditional combustion vehicles to maybe one or two EVs or some hybrid vehicles will help better inform us, or maybe give us some access to the charger data. That would enable us to understand how you're using power. Maybe we can help create rates, maybe we can create incentives. Right now, we're an enabler. We're trying to provide you all with information that you can use, but in many instances, it's shuttling you to other locations for incentives. In order for us to help you, we need some information back so we can actually create this. And in PPL, we actually have a new kind of saying for all of our PPL companies. While I'm representing here today PPL Electric, we actually have utilities down in Kentucky and up in Rhode Island. And we're trying to collectively call ourselves one PPL. You're all part of one PPL. We need you as customers to work with us so we can work with you to help drive our company mission forward. And so the last part I'd like to talk about is not necessarily PPL centric, but it's all of the other resources that I really want to implore you to leverage. So the first is work with your local utilities. I've spoken a lot about myself in PPL Electric's forum here, but you have your gas utilities, you have your water authorities, Lehigh County Authority with Gleasel is here. Leverage the resources they have for you. You can conserve water. That's going to help a lot. You can conserve how you and recycle how you manage your trash and recycle business. That is going to help you and help the community. You can adjust how you're using gas, natural gas and oil. That'll help you and the community from an emission standpoint and environmental standpoint. Another initiative that's going on that I want to implore you to please participate in are your local climate action plan committees. So again, the last speaker today is going to speak on the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, Becky, on what the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission has done with climate action plans, but many townships, communities, and cities are starting their own CAPs. I've participated in a number of them, and the one thing that I'm finding lacking in most of those is business presence. There's a lot of environmental groups which are great, bringing great new opportunities and ideas to the community. There's local governments and other sort of facilities of that nature, but the business representation seems to be lacking in some cases. So if you hear about it, join it. In some cases, Bethlehem, Lehigh Valley Planning Commission already have plans. So look at the plans. Look at some of the initiatives that they've already highlighted for opportunities for all of you and leverage them. They'll give you a great springboard of what you could do or things that the community is trying to incent you and direct you to do. It's a good starting spot, and it also provides you with contacts in those groups to help push you forward. And so last, I also want to direct you to a number of other sites and initiatives that exist. Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, they have an excellent site with a lot of incentives and resources for you to leverage. But there's also your local universities and colleges and schools. All of them are embedded in our community, but they're also usually the ones supporting the climate action plans as well. They're great resources to use, so please use them. And so what I'll end with are two key points for you to kind of take away from here. So first is, the key to the energy transition being successful is you and your participation. We all need business input, support, and participation to support this evolution that's underway. And then the second is, resources are at your fingertips, quite literally in some cases. You can literally click to get what you need to help move you forward and inform you on what you want to do. PPL representatives and our websites are a great starting spot. We have great resources for you to leverage, but there are many others in the community. And so please use them. Participate in climate action plans, reach out to your local government officials and your local communities, your local businesses, use the utilities, PPL of course, but also UGI. There's Lehigh Water Authority and a number of recycling centers as well. And so with that, please use them, please leverage them. They're there for you, and in most cases, they're built for you. So that's it. I appreciate your time today, and if you have any questions.
So we are going to open it up to a little bit of Q&A if anybody has any questions.
You briefly mentioned kind of early on about energy storage. What is PPL doing to, like on the residential front and also on the kind of more commercial solar fields front to promote energy storage and, yeah.
Sure, no, great question. And so for the energy storage front, we actually have one battery already on our system, and we're using it for reliability purposes. So it's very much, I would call it a pilot project. And the idea is to really understand the functional use of how we can leverage batteries for reliability and outage management. So for instance, in this specific example, it's at what we call the end of a radial line. Think of out in the end where there's no other connecting node on the other side. And what we're really trying to do with that is say, okay, if there's outages, how do we best serve those customers in the most cost-efficient manner? And so we put an energy storage system there. And so if and when there's an outage or we have some sort of other reliability need, that's there, and we can leverage it while our PPL team restores power or adjusts whatever that need is. That's the first start. And I made brief mention earlier about some of our other utilities that PPL, our other sister companies we have. Rhode Island also has some, and so what we're trying to do is understand how they use them at the grid level. We're also seeing increased interest in individual customers and businesses leveraging them. So solar plus storage. It's a new start, and it's also kind of a new field. So a customer getting involved, not just to let the facility go, but to actively manage how supply is. So I'll say where we're at right now is, I would even go before alpha stage, like pre-alpha stage of where we're at with any of this. We're very, very early. Come back in about 3 or 4 years, we're probably going to be a lot farther because we'll have the information where we had just installed the facilities, understand how they work, and then we can start rolling them out in greater numbers. So it's evolving.
James, this question pertains to your comment about collecting data. We're starting to see a proliferation of more EV charging stations at shopping centers, big box stores, things of that nature, hospitality. Are they reporting data back to you, and does some of that take the pressures off of individuals charging at home?
So I'll answer the first part, which is, are we getting the data back? In some cases. So let's just say if you go not too far from here, there's a Tesla charging station at Bank off of Tillman Street. We get some of that information if they separately meter, but not on a per charger basis. And that kind of goes to my request to all of you, if you're considering converting, to kind of let us know and we can work with you to get some of that information. We see it in bulk. So we know net total consumption, but not necessarily how day-to-day, hour-to-hour, the charging function works, because it's mixed with the rest of the power. Will it help with the residential demand? Absolutely. In some studies I've seen in other states, business charging is actually a primary driver, not home charging. And it's because you're driving into work, and if your business, wherever you're going to work, has a charger, you're plugging in there and you're filling up your vehicle there to then turn around and come back home. The charging amount is less. So there's that dichotomy of the two that are occurring at the moment. Data sparse at the current time. So that's really my request to all of you, is if we can get it, that's really what we need to help you.
Given the large amount of roofs on the various warehouses and so forth, is there anything being done to try to incentivize solar panels on that massive amount of square footage that's particularly in this area?
There are. So first is the easy answer is there's a lot of funding opportunities, state and federal opportunities, especially with the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the IIJA funding at the federal level. It's kind of trickling down to the state. So that's the first thing, is there's money available, it's being leveraged, or will be a leverage going forward. The second is more on the PPL side. We're trying to improve the interconnection process. So we have a new portal, a DER, Distributed Energy Resource Portal, or DG portal. And that portal enables customers to go on, or developers, and submit interconnections, and in some cases, we're seeing same-day approvals through our system. So I believe it's now up to close to 80%, maybe even a little bit over that, of same-day or 24 to 48-hour approvals. So that's facilitating and speeding the process up for customers. And then the larger ones, we're actually working on some new internal processes to also facilitate and expedite that process, to reduce the time turnaround as well as the cost to do studies and things like that, that typically when you get larger size, we need to really make sure the grid can manage it. And we're trying to improve that process, essentially try to automate as much as possible. So by doing that, we believe we're going to be able to facilitate across. I'm getting the giant black X. So with that said, I really appreciate it. I'm up here with my PPL team. So if you have any questions, during the intermissions or what have you, please feel free to come up and ask us. More than happy to help. Thank you.
Press conference. Good morning. I'm Raymond Aerobic, managing partner of RMS Environmental, and vice chair of the Energy Environment Committee. And I want to thank everyone again for coming here and being here. It's a great venue, and it's nice to see all the people. Each year during the Sustainability Summit, the Energy Environment Committee awards a Lehigh Valley-based nonprofit that goes above and beyond their sustainable initiatives. This year's winner recently completed an expansion and renovations to their existing building, which incorporated energy savings and environmentally friendly equipment. They partnered with South Whitehall Township and the Allentown West Rotary to initiate a community garden and an education feature which they will be utilizing to teach good environmental stewardship to the community they serve. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the 2023 Environmental Initiative Nonprofit Award winner, Parkland Community Library. Accepting the award for the library is Head of Youth Services, Jacqueline Holmes.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you to the Chamber for this honor today. Parkland Community Library, we are delighted to be the recipient of the award this year. Our expansion and renovation project was certainly a labor of love, that was made possible with support from Southway Hall Township, our library board of directors, and lots of hard work from Karen Ramsey and Boyle Construction. So with that said, I invite all of you to visit our newly renovated library and as we continue to grow together with our community. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, for our second presentation this morning will be on the impact of electric vehicles. On the electric grid and reliability. Please welcome to the stage Senior Marketing Design Specialist for PJM, Skylar Marziski.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Skylar Marziski with PJM. Thank you for the invitation and thank you for everyone for coming. Let's jump into it. I'm a little bit removed typically from business interactions directly. I'm in this very weird pseudo state. I don't know if anyone here has taken a government class, but there's a conflict between federal and state rights, and I'm right in the middle. So that's where PJM is. We have this very weird dichotomy so we serve the grid, but we also have to abide by state laws. So we serve 13 states and as well as the state of District of Columbia. We have 65 million people within it, and within PJM, it's 21% of U.S. GDP. So it's a pretty big footprint. So within PJM, just to give everyone a brief explanation of what we do, there's really three pillars. One is reliability, right? We want to make sure that the lights stay on within the Eastern Interconnection specifically, as well as within PJM. Second is market operations, so we do that by making sure everything is working correctly. And then third is planning. Planning is really where this electrification is coming into for a bigger impact within our company right now. So here's a cool little picture of our control room. This is like, floor-to-wall ceilings, like 30 feet tall. It's very big, it's very fun. No one's allowed into it besides like these very few people. And actually during COVID, we actually had a lockdown where these people stayed on campus for over a month, which is very interesting. So it was right at the start. So yeah, it's a really cool place to do it. And we're actually located just outside King of Prussia, so not too far from here. But you would never know it unless someone tells you about it. So here's a brief kind of what we do versus where the residential and where businesses are. So PJM Grid Operators is that middle building. And there's generation, transmission, substations, distribution, all the way down to residential. And so PPL is in that distribution, and as well as they help serve the end user customers. We're just above that, so we help direct the flow beyond that. So here's how PJM is different than a local utility. So we don't technically own anything. So we're a nonprofit, and we don't take, but we have to take energy ownership. So we have to make sure that everything is delivered. And so here's what we do. We do operate transmission system, maintain independence, as well as coordinate the flow of electricity. So I'm just trying to run through just to kind of frame set of what exactly PJM does compared to other utilities and other distribution places. So now, on to the sustainability and what actually is going on. Here's a very busy graph, as well as a figure, but the question is, so how much renewable power are we actually seeing throughout the years within PJM? And where is it? And so what we're seeing is a steady increase up, which is expected. James, I mentioned earlier that Pennsylvania was originally 9% for 2010. Now it's up to 18% for 20-something. I forget the year. But as you see, it's still mostly gas, coal, nuclear within PJM. But that renewable, that little green slice on that circle figure on the left, is up to 6.8%. So for an entirety of the grid, it's getting up there. And if you look at this, we see there's a lot of solar, but mostly wind within PJM. This is in this region, there's more solar, but you've probably heard of offshore wind that's coming off New Jersey. But there's a lot of wind in Illinois, in the ComEd footprint, and there's actually a lot of wind in the southwest of America as well. So you can see it's growing year over year. It'll continue this trend as we have more aggressive policies to try to target that. So one of the questions I want to talk about is how PJM is responding to solar growth. So this is a very important aspect of grid reliability, especially with the construction of, as people said, there's warehouse roofs, there's behind the meter solar, there's community solar that's happening. And so how do we actually perform all that? The biggest thing that we can do is increase visibility and situational awareness. So what that means is that someone needs to tell us. We don't have access to these end-use customer data. We don't have access to if you decide to install a solar plant. So one way to do it is to try to increase its visibility within PJM so that we can help plan for it. So once we know it exists, we can start understanding how it's going to impact the flows on the grid, and then with that, we can understand if we have to do something else. So sometimes it can create a weird constraint, meaning that energy may flow in a different way than we're expecting because of these big projects that are behind the meter or that we're not aware of. So situational awareness is a really big aspect. Next is we need to also implement forecasting tools. Solar is pretty predictable, but then there's also cloud coverage. There's going to be a lunar eclipse next year, and the last time this happened, it was a very fascinating outcome where there was a huge dip as well in load as well as solar during that, which is when the moon is blocking the sun, of course. But it's also it's really important to be able to understand and to predict these outcomes in order to make sure that PJM can maintain this reliability. And then lastly is that we need to be able to work with stakeholders. So PJM is in this federal-ish area, but we also work with different states as well as different utilities, as well as different providers. And so we have to make sure that everyone is out there, knows that we exist and what we're trying to do. This is like a load forecast within PJM. On the far left, you can see the peaks, which is what we're expecting for the total amount of growth within PJM, and it goes up and down over years. It's, but generally there's a trend up. So the first thing is that we need to be able to observe this net load. So what is actually out there on PJM, and what that means is what do people actually use during the peak hours, and make sure that we have enough capacity or generation to meet that demand. Then we have to calculate if there's any behind the meter solar, we need to make sure that we're aware of it. And if we're aware of it, we can make sure that we can adjust that peak load. Then we have to also be aware of forecast growth. We have to be aware of non-wholesale. So this is typically the stuff that will be installed at behind the meter or something on top of a roof, or maybe a community solar. And then lastly, we have to calculate this final net value. So all these things are impacting how PJM helps to figure out how reliability will work with an increasing solar market. Can we go to the next slide, sorry? Thank you, and one more. Perfect. So I want to talk a little bit about distributed energy resources and microgrids. So this is something that is new, very new to the fact that it's not even finalized yet within this footprint. But the idea is, as James mentioned, you may want to have a solar or you may want to have a battery in your business to instead of relying on PJM or instead of relying on PPL or another distribution, you have your own power and you want to provide it. Maybe you have an environmental goal in mind. So there is a FERC order, Federal Energy Reserve Commission, which is Energy Reserve, in which requires this tool to happen. So PJM is here trying to implement these rules, trying to make the rules fair, trying to make it so that anyone can participate. So as small as 100 kilowatts can participate within PJM wholesale markets. So instead of just, I shouldn't say just, instead of being able to participate within your local utility, you can now also participate in wholesale markets. And so when we look at this, there's different components of a distributed energy resource. And what I mean by that is that you can have solar, you can have battery, you can have an electric vehicle, for example. With an electric vehicle, you're hopefully having a bi-direction, meaning that you can charge from the grid as well as charge to the grid. And so the electric vehicle industry is still relatively new, and the ones that can actually do bi-directional are very few. Off the top of my head, I think the Ford Lightning as well as Nissan Leaf can do bi-directional with just right when you get it. Beyond that, you may have to do some additional improvements on the electric vehicle to be able to do that. So once you make this at your business, at your home, you have to find somebody or you have to become an aggregator in order to be able to participate. Because sometimes it's a little bit too small for PJM to see, and we have this size threshold. So that's where this DER aggregation resource comes in. So that will come in this geographic area and be like, hey, does anybody here want to participate within the wholesale markets? And then you can sign up, and then you can get some revenue for it. So that DER aggregator would participate within PJM. And so that's how the overall flow is of what we're thinking about for how this would work. Again, this is still very new. We're still within litigation in the courts with this, and it's still, we're working on it, and we have a September 1st deadline to file everything. So, it's not quite there yet, but it's coming there very quickly. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So vehicle to grid, this is a fun topic. This is actually University of Delaware. And so this is a very long project that they had some grant money. So it wasn't just like, I can do this. It was more, they set out to do this. And can we go to one more slide? And the idea was, if we have these electric vehicles, what can we do with them? Can we just plug them in all day and let them sit there? This is something that we're seeing, is that these electric vehicles will plug in, and then, as James mentioned, I know at PJM, I charge at work, I have an electric vehicle, it's great. But instead of just charging, what if I had that bi-direction, meaning that I could charge as well as provide something to the grid? And when you can provide something, that means that there's a need for it as well as compensation. So this was in University of Delaware, and it's within PJM's footprint. And Wall Street Journal actually, in 2010 or 2014, they published all this data, and Wall Street Journal looked at it, and they calculated that the gross revenue would be about $100 a vehicle a month. So, this is still new, but the idea is like there is a good revenue stream if you have an electric vehicle that's bidirectional and you can connect to the grid. So it's better than nothing. I don't think that, typically what it would do is it would provide little ups and downs. So instead of just charging directly to full, it may charge to half and then follow a signal, so that sometimes it'll inject a little bit, sometimes it'll pull back. And the idea is that because PJM has to balance every electron for what is being needed and what is being consumed, that can help fill a little bit of gap, and then it receives revenue for that participation. And interestingly, I had this little statistic. Electrifying 2% of PJM's light-duty fleet would double the energy storage capacity in the region. So there doesn't have to be a huge impact or a huge penetration of electric vehicles in order to make a very big impact on electricity markets, especially within PJM. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So here's what we currently see for distributed energy resources and energy storage. Within wholesale markets, I apologize, there's more than just electricity. There's a regulation market. So this is it's a much quicker signal on which you have to respond at a shorter time frame. And as you see, in monthly revenue, we have it in the thousands. For storage, this is typically where they're good at. They can respond very quickly, especially if you're plugging an electric vehicle all day. You have all the time and you have that capability there, just sitting there. And instead of sitting there, it can help participate and help grid reliability. And so right now what we see, most of it is water heaters within PJM. So it's a little device that you connect to the water heater, and so it'll turn on, turn off kind of thing and help provide that regulation. We do have a little bit of batteries, so it's only 12.5 megawatts. But yeah, on average, it's pretty low, right? 78 megawatts is pretty low for a footprint of over, I think our peak demand is 155 gigawatts. But this is still pretty new into the market, and it will grow within time. Can we go to the next slide, please? So electric vehicle growth in PJM. So we made this slide in early April, and since then the EPA has filed new regulations that, if go through, would require something like 75% of commercial vehicles to be electric or non-gas dependent. Essentially, they have a very low threshold for the amount of carbon pounds per mile. So without that in mind, we're seeing that by 2037, it's about 4.5 million vehicles that we're expecting. So if we look at Pennsylvania, we see less than 1 million, maybe about 500,000 by the end of this figure, but it's definitely increasing. And as I said, with the EPA new regulation, if it goes through everything, I'm expecting to see this expand even more. So there are these vehicles that are being produced, there are these vehicles that are being consumed by consumers, maybe by your businesses, and there's another revenue stream for it. Besides just trying to be more environmentally friendly, you can participate in electricity markets. Can we go to the next slide? So, I apologize. this is a world of acronyms. So I have ESR, that's energy storage resources. I should have called that. But right now, there's roughly 5,300 megawatts of energy storage resources, batteries of some form that exist within PJM. And as you see, it's mostly pumped hydro. At the end of the day, you pump hydro up, and then you let it come back down. It's a battery. It's one way to allow the energy that you take at one time, and then you disperse it at another time. We do have a little bit, that 4% of other storages, but right now in PJM, it's almost entirely pumped hydro. So the other storages, as I said, about 300 megawatts, mostly batteries, and within that, 50% are connected to distribution, and 50% are connected to the bulk electric system. So if you were to connect at your business or your home, it would be at the distribution grid system rather than the bulk electric system, typically. And then as well, as I just want to highlight that pump hydro is currently participating capacity, energy, and regulation. So there's multiple revenue streams that are allowed when you have a kind of storage device connected to the electricity market. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right, perfect. I think this is my last one. And James touched on a little bit. Let's say you also want to have solar at your facility as well as a battery. Well, solar, has this nice sinusoidal wave curve. In the morning, it goes up. Around noon, it peaks, and then it goes back down. And so you can supply, entirely green energy, entirely free energy once you install this solar panel throughout the day. But what happens when it gets dark? This is where solar plus storage allows a little bit of a difference. So let's say when we're going up in the morning, we get a little bit of cloud cover. And so it's like, oh no, but I still want to only consume during these carbon-free hours. Well, if you had that extra storage, you could help smooth that out and understand it better. And then at the very peak, you could say, I'm going to actually output a little bit more from the battery to make sure that I'm going to continue staying in that. As well as maybe you want to delay the consumption into the afternoon or in the evening when you typically could not have this green solar power. And so with the combination of solar and battery, there's a lot of new things that are out there. This is very new technology. It is definitely a pilot program or very early stages in the electricity market. But when there's more push for solar, storage is a great complement because instead of just having power produced at this peak, you can offset it at different times. So that combination of solar and storage is going to be a very impactful thing to the markets. And I think that's about it. I just wanted to leave some time for questions. I apologize, there's a lot of acronyms. I know this is a little bit removed, but I'm hopefully that I spurred some questions. I'd love to hear them.
I just had a quick question about the DER aggregation resource. Is that are you going to be incorporating and leveraging private partnership for that piece, or is that to help with the grid interconnection?
Right, so PJM is nonprofit. We really try to make the rules to attract people. So we may not reach out and try to create a partnership, but we just want to make sure that these rules work for you, right? So if there's a DER aggregator out there that says, oh, this doesn't work, this is too restrictive, we want to understand that, and then they can help provide the service. Does that make sense? Great.
Question, I heard that at the rate at which the EVs are coming onto the market, there's a concern as to whether the grid can actually support all that demand. Is there any validity to that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It depends where it is at the end of the day. James again mentioned a radial line. That is a problem, especially depending on the flow of electricity. The easiest way to think about it is sometimes water, right? So water is just flowing down, and you have all these different paths you can go. But then you have one stream, and at the very end of it, you have a lot of electric vehicle penetration. That could create a problem for that area because they need to get power, and if they can only get power along this line, it creates a problem. So yes, it could. The important part is that we need to be aware of it so that we can help plan for it. So this occurs at the distribution level as well as wholesale level. Typically, a radial line like that is more of a distribution problem, but within PJM, we also have to be aware of it to make sure that we are able to support the transmission system. But yeah, it absolutely could be a problem if you don't think about it, but that's definitely something we're thinking about.
So we were wondering, how does PJM work with utilities and or regulate them when regarding energy storage? Are they able to pull power from storage itself, or is that at the discretion of the utility company?
So PJM, that's a great question. So PJM is the grid operator. So if you had a storage, for example, and you said, hey, I have this 10 megawatt hour battery, it's available in the energy market. PJM would say, you would offer a price and say, like, if it's above $100, I'll dispense my energy. And then PJM would say, like, yes, that seems like a great resource. We need it in that area, and then we would dispense it. We would dispatch it. You could also self-schedule, but that's Anyway, but yes, typically PJM would be the one that dispatches the battery in that example.
We got time for one more question. Does anybody have one? Doesn't look like it.
Great, thank you so much.
Morning, everybody. My name's Tori Morgan. I am the Director of Funding, Regulatory Relations and Compliance at MTech Engineering. It's my pleasure to be here today. The Community Partner Environmental Innovations Award is presented to a Lehigh Valley business that has made innovative and impactful achievements in the environmental community and their neighborhood. This year's winner completed a waste study in 2021 to identify opportunities to recycle, compost, reduce and eliminate waste, and is constantly striving to improve their recycling practices. As a result of the study, they identified the number of ways to reduce the waste, including single-stream recycling bins in all offices and common areas, moving to paperless reporting, purchasing refurbished toner for their copiers, and eliminating straws and plastic lids on the premises. Some of these things may sound small, but when I tell you who it is, it will make a tremendous impact. All of this was done without skipping a beat to ensure customer satisfaction at its highest level, and most importantly, fun. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor. Please join me in congratulating the recipient of the 2023 Environmental Innovation Community Partner Award to Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom, the land of fun and environmental sustainability. Jessica Natterman, Vice President and General Manager, and Ryan Eldridge, Manager of Public Relations, and we also have Ms. Kelly Dilbeck here today. So congratulations.
Well, certainly we don't do this for the recognition. We do this because we are an industry leader, and we're a leader in the Lehigh Valley, and we've been doing this for 140 years. So we are positioned, and we're blessed to be in a position to be able to do things like this, to advance change in our communities, and that's certainly something that we've wanted to do and we've done for over 140 years. So that being said, Tori, thank you, and we wanted to thank the Chamber and other partners. And I think when we first realized we had to speak, Jess and I were in a conundrum, but we're both competitive, so we did rock, paper, scissors, and knowing that this is all about the earth, we both threw rock. So we're both going to speak a little bit. But when I realized what the award was for, innovation, community, and environment, I realized that those three things are all pillars of really the foundation of Dorney Park, going all the way back to us being the natural spot in 1884 and even a little bit before then. So when we talk about those three things specifically, we always talk about in our administrative building being in the position to provide better fun for a better world. And I think for us at Dorney Park, we recognize that we cannot provide the better fun without the world and a better world. So we're constantly trying to innovate and find ways that we can make the world and our community a better place. And Jess has a better idea of what all those things are, because I'm not a list person, I'm the creative brain person. So Jess can talk a little more about that.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you to the Chamber and Tori. We appreciate the award. This is a pillar of Cedar Fair. ESG initiatives is something that we are really looking at. To echo what Tori said, we did conduct a study looking at how we can collect rainwater and reuse it, looking at solar energy, looking at variable drive frequencies, and all the things that we can do to help the environmental footprint. So it is something that we are very proud of, and we really appreciate the acknowledgement. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lou Fromm with Fromm Electric Supply. We are a wholesale electrical products distributor located. We have a branch here in Allentown. We are family owned, third generation, and fun fact, we are celebrating our 100th year this year. So in addition to selling just products, we also provide resources and services to our customers just to help them do what they do better and more efficiently, like we're talking about here. And so I'm presenting an award today with our resource partner, Novus Energy, Maria Sosa over there. And it is for a free energy efficiency assessment for whatever facility whomever wins. And the winner is Gina Berry.
Thanks, Lou. Well, hello. Thank you again, everybody, for coming out today. So we're about to take a quick 5-minute break, but I first have a special announcement to make. We want to recognize someone here today who has served on and led the Energy and Environment Committee for many years. In 2016, he took over as chair and has been an integral part of the Chamber's Public Policy Department and the Energy and Environment team ever since. He's devoted countless hours of his time to ensure our committee members are well-versed and aware of E&E issues on the local, state, and federal level. Mike Gibson, thank you for your service to the Chamber, and please accept this gift on behalf of the Energy and Environment Committee.
Thank you, Frank. When I saw special announcement on there, I thought Frank was picking up 18 holes out on the course afterwards. This was not what I was expecting, but as he mentioned, it seemed like a lifetime on this committee. It's been a pleasure. I was fortunate enough to be one of the founding members of the committee along with John Hayes of Nutrapoli Bank. It's been a wonderful ride. I couldn't do it without all the wonderful members of the Chamber over those years, and certainly some of who have been here presenting to you today. So thank you very much. Again, I'm Mike Gibson, Chair of the Energy and Environment Committee. I'm here to present the Excellence in Education Award as presented to an education institute that utilizes sustainable practices during the construction or renovation of their facilities. This year's winner is in the final stages of a full renovation of their new learning campus, repurposing the former Rodale headquarters building in Emmaus. Through the 2-year construction process, they focused on sustainable building practices and utilizing environmentally conscious equipment. Some of the sustainable building initiatives include utilizing carbon neutral floor products, replacing windows with more energy efficient windows, upgrading their HVAC systems, energy efficient lighting, water bottle refilling stations instead of fountains, and Energy Star appliances. This year's winner is truly going above and beyond teaching the future generations to be good stewards of the environment, so I think you're all starting to understand who it is. I just want to mention too, I have a soft spot living in Emmaus for 7 Gen. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating our 2023 Environmental Innovations Excellence in Education Award winner, 7 Generations Charter School. Accepting the award are 2 of the students from 7 Gen Charter School and Mandy Soro.
Seven Generations Charter School's name comes from an Iroquois legend. This legend states that if we are lucky, we will have the opportunity to touch 7 different generations. The 3 that come before us, our own, and the 3 that will come after. At 7 Generations Charter School, we learn that the choices we make today should be the ones to create a positive impact for the generations to come.
Thank you to the Energy and Environment Committee for recognizing 7 Generations Charter School for the Excellence in Education Award. We would like to thank Alloway 5 Architecture and Skeptic Construction for making our mission and vision come alive in the construction of our forever home. From floor to ceiling, the team turned the former Roadale headquarters into a place we can call our own. We are so excited to be in our new campus and can't wait to continue to create a place where we can learn, grow, and give back to our community for generations to come.
And all of our community partners here. Our students thrive by learning in and about the community every day. So Air Products and PPNL and Lehigh County Conservation, you all are part of our curriculum, and we thank you so much for your partnership and for continuing those partnerships in the future. Thank you.
Congratulations, students, and the 7 Gen staff. Now, please welcome our final presenter for the afternoon, for the morning. It's not afternoon yet, right? Tea time's in this afternoon. Becky Bradley is Executive Director of Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, and Becky's going to be sharing the LVPC Climate Action Plan. Becky?
Thank you, and good morning. So I guess the clicker broke, so I get to say next for each slide. So next. Okay, so many of you know the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission is the Bi-County Planning Commission for Northampton and Lehigh counties, and we do a lot of work to balance all the needs of the region. We also have a sister board called the Lehigh Valley Transportation Study, and that board is a federally designated metropolitan planning organization for transportation planning and investment. And that's an important one, as we'll hear towards the end of the presentation. We're going to talk about how we can leverage both of these boards to do so much for climate action in the region. But you know I gotta have some data. So we're gonna start with facts first. Next. On this slide, it's a summary of a work that we did several years ago on what's the actual value of the natural system services that our environment provides, as well as what's the value of our parks, recreation, economy, and how does the environment actually support the health and also the finances of our region. So just to highlight a couple things. And this will be important later on, so pay attention to this. $2.5 million our natural environment provides in biological control services every single year to our region. Another $54 million in annual carbon and pollution removal, $219.5 million that contributes to wildlife and plant habitats, $50.6 million for annual flood mitigation, and $59.7 million per year our natural environment provides to protect our water quantity and quality. Another thing I think is important is that if you live within a quarter mile of protected open space, a water course, a forest, that adds a minimum of $12,000 to the value of your home. And right now we have over 127,000 households that enjoy that premium from having the connection to the environment. Next. So we do public opinion surveys every 4 to 5 years or so, and that helps us set the direction for the policies and investment strategies that we have in the LVPC and the LVTS. I think something that's very important and that always stands out to us on the LVPC team is the fact that every single survey that we've done for the last several decades that the community, over 95% in this case, have prioritized natural resources and our natural environment as high as our economy and jobs. Followed then by another 90 to 95% of folks that are focusing on climate change, and then the associated climate action is a priority. These are statistically valid surveys done with the public, so people are thinking and talking about this and valuing these issues in the decisions that they make. Next. So the LVPC, is, as you're aware, has had a long-term commitment to the environment, and I want to give a little lead up on some things that we started doing almost a decade ago. So the first thing that we worked on next is a series of documents that we summarized in Climate LV, our regional climate action assessment last year. Back in 2013, the LVPC adopted its first set of climate-specific and energy-specific policies and actions related to the environment. We then helped both counties, Northampton County and Lehigh County, with their Parks, Rec, and Open Space plans that really looked at how you could leverage Parks, Rec, and Open Space as a climate action strategy. Both of the counties adopted those plans and are doing amazing things to implement those through their farmland protection program, as well as through their parks, recreation, and open space facilities. We also utilized those two works to create Future LV, our regional plan, which was adopted at the end of 2019. And we're updating the transportation components of that, and I'll explain why in a minute. And we also simultaneously created the region's first walk, roll, active transportation plan, which looks at how walking, biking, ADA accessibility, and transit accessibility actually tie in to our mobility overall. So all of those things are designed to protect, conserve, and enhance our natural ecosystems and provide long-term resiliency to climate change. Just out of those 4 initiatives, or 5 initiatives that I talked about, or 4 initiatives I've talked about, 525 policies, goals, and actions are specifically designed to support climate action and resiliency. Next. Okay, so last year we got this really amazing opportunity to work with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, ICLEI, and Moravian University to do a first ever regional greenhouse gas inventory to understand really what our carbon emissions are and how we could leverage that into further climate action work. Our inventory consists of 6 sectors: residential energy, commercial energy, industrial electricity and gas, transportation and mobile sources, solid waste, and water and wastewater. The estimates capture most, but not all, of both counties' greenhouse gas emissions, and the inventory represents emissions in carbon dioxide equivalent values, shown as CO2e on the slide, which is a measure that converts the concentration of other gases within the atmosphere to the equivalent amount of carbon dioxide in the same global warming potential. The Lehigh Valley's gross greenhouse gas emissions for 2019 was 9.8 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, or roughly 14.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent produced for every resident in the region. Those numbers mean that the Lehigh Valley is emitting 3.7% of Pennsylvania's total statewide gross greenhouse gas emissions. More than 60% of the emissions come from industrial electricity and natural gas, or transportation sources, and the next largest emitter is residential energy at 20%. The inventory results provide information that is key, again, to guiding decisions that you make, but certainly that our governments make, including the LVPC. And it is a baseline against which the region will be able to compare and demonstrate progress in reducing emissions. You can find that inventory on our website at lvpc.org. And in the next slide, I just want to show you the transportation piece and then one other, because this is important. Based on the data and sectors from the inventory LVPC created with our partners, we had a forecast through 2049 and that's an estimate of emissions under certain assumptions. This business as usual scenario type of forecast assumes that no new actions or policies are adopted for the purpose of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So this is if we do nothing. The Lehigh Valley's business as usual forecast is based on regional population, employment growth rate projections as well, which we also updated last year. And the transportation sector forecast that we see here is additionally based on federally mandated CAFE standards or corporate average fuel economy. That over time requires reduced fuel consumption and better efficiency for vehicles. We talked a little bit about that from the other two speakers and how that's playing out. So you can see how those mandates cause emissions in the transportation sector to decrease dramatically over time. Those mandates are baked into our forecast model. So an increase in electric vehicles or other alternative fuel vehicles in the coming years would also cause this sector to show even greater reductions of emissions. And in the next slide, while transportation sector predicts a decrease in emissions, individually, all of the other sectors within the inventory are expected to grow through 2050. This includes industrial electricity and natural gas sector. That is a key market for job growth and increased development within the Lehigh Valley. So the results of the regional inventory and forecast indicate that an effective plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions would need to give priority to industrial electricity and gas uses. Next, although the Lehigh Valley's greenhouse gas emissions are projected to grow from 9.8 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent over 10 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent in 2049, this represents an average growth rate of about 0.05% per year and a cumulative increase of 1.5%. Future greenhouse gas emissions within the Lehigh Valley will be impacted by multiple factors. Again, population and employment growth, land use patterns and development, economic activity, energy efficiency, and transportation habits, which is why we have to work on all of those things to help at the same time and do our part to make sure that we're reducing those emissions. It is of note that over 20 million new square feet of industrial has been proposed and approved by local governments who have final say in the Lehigh Valley in the last 6 years. There is another 21 million square feet in the review pipeline right now. And we received a set of plans yesterday that is 3.5 feet tall for over 5 million additional square feet of proposed industrial in Upper Mount Bethel Township. So it is not slowing down the industrial development that is being proposed. So that reinforces the need to do more across all sectors. Next, but we have unprecedented opportunities, even out of all of our challenges. So I mentioned the local climate action program that we're doing in partnership with the Department of Environmental Protection. Lehigh County and Northampton County is also at the table for that. In addition, we've been actively pursuing funding to update the Act 167 stormwater management plans for all 16 watersheds in the Lehigh Valley to create a single region-wide vision for green infrastructure. And that would include an ordinance that all 62 municipalities would need to adopt. This would help ensure the region's water quality equitably across all of the region's communities, as well as help our local governments with some compliance things under the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer, or MS4 program. This one's been a labor of love that we started in 2021 when we started working with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. That's now expanded out for the hazard mitigation potential to the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency as well. Okay, now that LVTS, that Lehigh Valley Transportation Study piece, now that comes into play here. In November 2021, we all know Congress passed the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which is the Infrastructure Investment in Jobs Act, or IIJA. This included 2 new infrastructure funding categories for carbon reduction and hazard mitigation. The hazard mitigation one is called Protect, but I'm going to focus on carbon reduction now. The carbon reduction of funding allows for metropolitan planning organizations, so the federally designated Lehigh Valley Transportation Study, to create a specific strategy to reduce carbon emissions in the transportation sector further. That means that we'll be allocating funds. First, we have to do the plan. And I just wanted to say that a lot of our work, people know that we do a lot of policy work, but not a lot of people realize that we have to go advocate to bring infrastructure dollars into the region. A portion of those carbon reduction funds came to us by formula, but Patrick Osei, who's sitting over there, Patrick, raise your hand, our Director of Transportation Planning and Data, and I spent a lot of time on Zoom calls and out in Harrisburg, and sum total, we were able to build the budget beyond $10 million to $67 million that we are bringing back to the Lehigh Valley specifically for carbon reduction in the transportation sector. And that just happened last week. So we're pretty proud of that. So now we gotta update the plans so we can start to expend those funds against that new program. So the LVTS is working on that very diligently through the transportation updates of future LV. Another key component of that LRTP update is we have tons and tons of data now that we didn't have 4 years ago when future LV was adopted. We are building the mega portal of all mega portals of data right now. Over 90 data sets that we're putting into an ArcGIS online interactive map that we are going to make public for anyone to use to look at everything from poverty and equity concerns to our air quality and tie all of these things that we monitor and manage into a single source of information on the Lehigh Valley. We're hoping to have that out in the next 2 to 3 months, so stay tuned for that in the summer. Now, the last program in the next slide is from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Last couple of weeks have just been incredible. And in the next slide, here's what happened. We got another $1 million specifically for climate action planning. Okay, now there's terms and conditions anytime you work with federal dollars. So we were able to also go and advocate. The top 67 largest regions in the United States, we're the top 69th, were eligible for $1 million for climate action planning, as well as each state. If the states didn't file a notice of intent by March 31st, we were already gonna file, because we were so close, right, for the $1 million to do more climate action planning work. So we started advocating with EPA. 4 states did not file their notice of intent, and because of the advocacy work of our area and New Haven, Connecticut, which is the 68th largest region, EPA said, okay, we'll allocate those block grants out now to the next regions in line. So we were also able to bring that $1 million home. Now that specifically goes to a couple things that you can see on the slide. A priority climate action plan. Remember, we already did greenhouse gas inventory. We're gonna do an update of our climate goals and policies and create a more broad-based regional climate action plan. EPA said, okay, great. We'll help you do that now along with PADEP, but we want you to put a little bit of a pause on that in a moment. Why? Because we want you to do a specific plan along with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, because we see all of the industrial growth that you have, and we know that's an issue. So DEP and the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission are going to be working on priority climate action plan. We have to have that done by March 2024, and that's going to specifically focus on industrial decarbonization. DEP is going to focus on the buildings and manufacturing emissions component of it, and we're going to focus on things that we know well, like our transportation sector. So then after that's done, we'll pick up that regional update after that, and they want us to build an infrastructure internally that beyond the 2027 end of this program, we can continue our climate action work in perpetuity. So we'll be reaching out to the Chamber Energy and Environment Committee and a lot of you in this room to help as we need to build that capacity further. Okay, the next slide. So we want to balance all of these things, the green infrastructure, more sustainable development, which you heard about earlier, our quality of life, tie all of that in with the environment, our economy, and our social well-being. So you'll see out in the parks, we do this every year, we try to get people excited about the health benefits of our natural environment. So we have signs that we go and plop in parks along with our partners all over the place that really reinforce the value of the work that we do. And then on the next slide, beyond what we're gonna do this summer in the Walk Audit program, which Christian Martinez and Bambi Griffin Rivera and Matt Assad and some of the others in the room kicked off earlier this week, along with our 2 county executives, AARP and United Way, to make our pedestrian mobility better. We are going to do some major projects in addition to just our normal global umbrella climate action work. We're going to be working through LVTS on a transportation corridor greening, hazard mitigation and beautification program. We're going to work towards a permanent air and water quality monitoring program. We already do traffic monitoring, and it's a natural next step, and many organizations that are larger than us of our type permanently monitor those things, so we'll be working towards that. You heard about the Act 167 work and the green infrastructure regulations. We are going to be working on a regional electric and alternative fuel deployment strategy, and you should hear a little bit more about that in the coming weeks. We are working already on a clean freight corridor planning and investment strategy, along with our neighboring metropolitan planning organizations that extend from Connecticut and New York City all the way out to Scranton in 2 different efforts. We're going to be working on regional bike share and scooter share, helping Lanta with the deployment of their bus rapid transit system, which is a precursor to light rail. We are working on the regional connectivity and feasibility plan for passenger rail between Lehigh Valley and the New Jersey Metro, as well as Lehigh Valley and the Philadelphia Metro as well. And working on all sorts of things, including helping our trail partners and the counties close key trail gaps, making our transportation system more safe and reducing congestion. Okay, so this next slide. This is something I think this audience would love. This is my pet project, I'll just be honest with you about it. We started working with the University of Pennsylvania's graduate program in landscape architecture and Penn Practice, their implementation arm, almost 8 years ago now. And we started actually mapping out the green area that is adjacent to or part of our public road right-of-ways. This is an opportunity to do a ton of carbon reduction work. Our public right-of-ways are some of the most underutilized assets that exist out there. There are opportunities to plant native grasses along those that will reduce runoff, help preserve the hard infrastructures there, provide pollination and bird migratory pathways that are so critical to that key element of the national system of bird migration in the nation. We can make our Lehigh Valley look better when you drive to it and through it, and it would make our environment a lot more healthy and preserve our quality of life. So we're going to be pursuing that as part of our transportation work. This slide shows a Route 33. We're also going to be working on Route 22 and eventually I-78. So I'll end with this. We are better together. If we work together and we continue to plan together, and I've had the opportunity to plan with many of you in this room, and I want to thank you for all of your contributions to this region, we can not only make it through the climate challenges that are in front of us, but we can remain one of the best places in the Lehigh Valley to live and to work and to invest. So all of these things are symbiotic, they are not separate. And I hope to be able to continue to do this planning work and investment work in tandem with all of you for years to come. Thank you.
All right, one more round for Becky. She was so thorough, no question indeed. All right, I'm back. I have the privilege and honor of recognizing today's recipient of our Large Business Award. The Large Business Environmental Innovation Award is presented to a Lehigh Valley business with greater than 100 employees that have made innovating and impactful achievements in the environmental community. This year's winner has called the Lehigh Valley home since 1946 and has roughly 2,000 employees. In 2018, this is big news, they announced that they would build their new global headquarters in the Lehigh Valley. And they made a commitment, always a big commitment, to take advantage of sustainable technologies to lessen their footprint here in the Lehigh Valley. We are so thankful for their commitment to sustainability, their commitment to the Lehigh Valley, and their commitment to our community. Please enjoy this video.
I never want to miss the point that this is an international company. This is a company that's doing business all over the globe. And the fact that Seifi Ghasemi and Air Products chose to stay here is incredible.
I want the headquarters to be in Lehigh Valley.
This is our global headquarters. This building reflects who we are as a company. So 4S, safety, speed, simplicity, and self-confidence. Those are our key values for Air Products, and you see it everywhere in this building. When we were going through the design, if we couldn't articulate why it's necessary, we cut it out of the design.
We wanted only to build spaces that had a purpose. We didn't want to build extra stuff.
Here at Air Products, everyone is somebody. There's no window offices in this building. Everyone has access to light. Employees feel appreciated. They feel that the company has made an investment in them.
We are designed for movement.
We have a state-of-the-art fitness center here that is free to every single employee. Also, we encourage employees to walk outside the building. We have a track adjacent to our fitness center, and we also have an incredible track through our sustainability-focused meadow. Technology is all throughout this building, and it's quick. You can get up and running and project to a team globally in seconds.
From the very beginning, sustainability was something really critical to the building. We started thinking about going vertical. Vertical meant that we were able to reduce the actual footprint on the acreage. We were probably on a couple hundred acres, and we're down to 50. We did a lot to utilize the things that we had available to us. We were able to put green roofs on a lot of different areas. On the top floor of the garage is mostly a solar farm. We have what we call light harvesting, so it basically uses the available sunlight to kind of match what's going on outside and save energy. The rainwater that goes out to the ponds gets recycled back. We've done quite a number of things to improve conservation.
What's kept Air Products in the Lehigh Valley? The Lehigh Valley and Air Products share the value of community nurturing, the value of hard work.
What you have done for this valley and this community is immeasurable, and we're very, very thankful for that.
There are so many people that participated. It was a massive effort over a long time.
So thank you to employees, thank you to contractors, thank you to community members.
Congratulations, Air Products, Project of the Year. Nobody deserves it more, and I'm so thankful that you're the recipient.
We're so proud of our global headquarters, and we're looking forward to the next 80 years.
And the headquarters is truly nothing short of stunning, beautiful, and obviously very sustainable. So please join me in welcoming the Vice President of Strategic Projects for our 2023 Innovations Large Business Award, Pat Garay, our winner, Air Products.
Thanks very much. I'm going to ditch everything else I was going to say and just thank the Chamber, thank the Energy and Environmental Committee, and thank you all for attending. It's a very interesting morning because as I look out, and this is an audience that really values sustainability if you're here, obviously. But think back to how many times have we seen a group of young children participate in something like this, right? To hear a little bit of what we're talking about, and they're going to take it forward. And really, you know, I hope that the kids that are here realize the fantastic opportunity you have to be talking to everybody about the things you heard. In this project, we had really a fantastic opportunity to kind of rethink how we ran our headquarters. And we've taken a lot of those opportunities, and it's fantastic to hear some of the other things like Dorney Park has done. We have Valley Planning Commission talked about, you know, essentially meadows, right, using our green spaces. So we've done all that, but we had that opportunity in one go to be able to do things like, you know, put the copiers far enough away that you know, you didn't really want to go print, and actually the pandemic helped us all in that way. We used paper during those fun 3 years. And so it also opens the door for, I think, for employees to, and everybody who visits, to kind of look around and say, hey, you know, actually they're refilling their water bottles. We don't have the plastic anymore. We're recycling all kinds of different stuff. So it was really a great opportunity, and we're very proud of it. We're hoping that our own employees are looking inside our house and taking it out and saying, hey, let's get rid of the straws, let's get rid of the plastic, let's reduce the amount of stuff that we bring in. And it's been, for me personally, because I've been here the whole time that we did the project, very, very amazing to just see the result. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for the award.
Wow, what a lot of information we got today, huh? So on behalf of the Chamber Energy Environment Committee and the full Chamber, we want to thank you for coming. Specifically, thank you to our sponsors. Without you, we couldn't have come to this wonderful new venue. Thank you to the Chamber staff, Matt, Allison, everybody else that's here from the Chamber staff. I want to have all of our award winners please stand up and be recognized one last time before we all depart. Could you please stand? Congratulations on your awards and all the wonderful things you've done with your facilities. And everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing you next year.